Right, I want to bring in the debris and the cars to this again. Before we do that, just quickly, I'm going to head over to my debris and also here set up velocity on the debris. All right, we should have velocity on these. If we double, yeah, we can see it there. Okay, so I'm going to use that for rendering the debris, and then the cars, we're not going to use that because with the cars, you know, as they're packed geometry, the velocity will be very simple. But so if we use the previous frame, we should get more interesting results. Okay, with the debris and the other geometry, we're going to use the velocity, which comes from the simulation. But for the cars, we're not. Right, so I'll leave that turned off there. So let's bring them all in here. So again, bridge render. What else we want? Cars render and debris render. Accept, and then stop and render that again. There we go. So we're getting, you can see the motion blur working on the cars, on the debris as well. We'll probably need to raise the samples to get a better blur on the debris since they're so small. But you can see it working all over now. Let's take another snapshot of that. I'm going to stop that. Go back into my viewport and let's turn on the bridge. Okay, I want to set up another light, a distant light. So Arnold light. Just do that here, or I don't know, next to it there. Okay, so as I said, this will be a distant light. So let's change this from point to distant. Okay, and if we just kind of move, let's move into our shot 2 there. If I turn this off and on, you can see what it's doing. It's like the, well, it's called the same, distant light in Houdini as well. So it's a light, it's similar to a sun. So it's like light coming from one direction everywhere. It doesn't matter in terms of translation, it doesn't matter where you put it. What's important is only the rotation of a distant light. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of getting you one direction of light. So let's take a look at the rotation of this. Let's just drop that down to about 30, and then maybe turn it around on the y-axis, pointing from the other, you know, coming from the left. Maybe a bit less. Okay, getting those nice, drop that down to 162, there we go. Gives you a nice bit of contrast. And then, let's see, intensity, I want this one to be quite strong. And if we raise this angle, we should get some nice shadows. So we don't want these hard line shadows which don't really make sense. I'm not sure if we'll see the effect in the viewport much here. Probably not. No, it'll be more in the render. We'll notice it, and we'll give it some more samples here as well. Samples, when you've got noise caused by a light, it's typically a good idea to raise samples here before just raising the camera samples there, which are, you know, the two main areas. When you've got noise, typically you just come here and raise that, but this is more expensive in terms of render time than raising samples here. Okay, which is quite a lot cheaper. I'm also going to, I don't want any specular reflections from this. I think, yeah, we could see that there. Okay, so it's not too shiny, basically. And that's good. Let's take a look at that. Go back in here and render with this. Just going to stop that there, just because I remembered that here in our lights we need to specify, you know, the lights that we're using. So the HDR and the distant lights. Again, I want to change that name. It annoys me that it's not clear. Are not lights. Distant. There we go. Okay, let's try that. There we go. So that's done. So we got a nice bit of bit more contrast coming in there now. So let's take another snap of that and make sure we save our scene as well. I haven't done that in a while.